Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by pointing out that for all its virtue, EMET and Sarah Stern discriminate against short people. Okay.
Shmuley? Shmuley.
Sarah, self-discrimination is a form of like Jewish self-loathing. It's just not right. We have enough Jewish self-hatred. Frank, firstly, yes, I've written 30 books. Do not be that impressed, because they've sold 30 books, and my friends, I'm deeply honored to be honored by EMET and by Sarah. Last night, 9 of our fellow Americans were cut down in cold blood at a church, for God's sake. While they were at prayer, had they decided to remain at home and watch some garbage reality TV, they would be alive right now. Talk about the irony. And we cannot bring them back. But what we can do, at the very least, is accord them the dignity of knowing that they died righteously, that they didn't deserve what they got, that this was the ultimate heinous act of injustice. They were not murdered at a black church because they were occupying someone else's church. Less so were they murdered because they locked the door at night and had a wall to keep out those who would do them harm. They died simply because they were hated irrationally. They were hated without any provocation. My God, Israel is the only country in the world that when its citizens die, we rob them we inflict upon them the final indignity that they deserve what they got. That Israel is an irritant and a provocation. Anti-Semitism, my friends, has existed and endured for thousands of years, when the Jews had no power to inflict any humiliation through a military checkpoint. Anti-Semitism existed when we were wanderers and when we were expelled from nation to nation. And it exists today simply because Israel is the Jewish state. There is no nation on earth that is asked to fight simply to exist, that isn't allowed to be. It must always do simply to be. I just came with Sarah from the Campus Maccabees Summit in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Sarah gave a beautiful presentation. I was just lauding her presentation because she spoke Saturday morning, Shabbat morning, and she was one of the only people who spoke without a microphone. She could easily have used the excuse that fighting for Israel is pikuach nefesh. It's a way of saving innocent life. But she was true to her principles, her traditions. She gave a phenomenal presentation, and she showed that the Jewish faith and pride in Israel can and should coexist at all times. But I thought to myself as we sat there at this Campus Maccabees Summit, that most students are allowed to go to university and simply get plastered. They're allowed to date. They're allowed to experiment. Only Jewish students are asked to become warriors even on campus. And what did we do, my friends, to invite such enmity? What did we do to invite such victimhood? And it's time that we state it clearly and unequivocally that we did absolutely nothing. Israel is the single most righteous and just nation on earth, given the level of threat that it faces on a daily basis. I am not pro-Israel because I'm Jewish. I love Israel because I'm Jewish. I am pro-Israel because I'm an American. I love Israel for its freedom. I love Israel for its democracy. I love Israel for its values. I love Israel for its respect for women. I love Israel for its respect of the right to worship, the right to congregate, something that is denied my Muslim brothers and sisters and every neighbor that surrounds the Jewish state of Israel. You know, I write books on relationships. I write books on sexuality. My best known book is Kosher Sex. What am I doing becoming a Hebrew warrior? I used to be popular among almost everyone. I did a TV show on TLC that simply sought to bring peace to homes. We Jews invented the concept of peace. Don't lecture us about peace. While Hannibal was crossing the Alps atop a giant elephant, while Alexander was earning international laurels as the first to conquer the whole world by the age of 33, while Caesar sought to emulate his achievement by conquering Gaul, we Jews had long bearded men in the marketplaces of ancient Israel who foretold of a time when men would beat their swords into plowshares and no man would teach a son the art of war. You think we want to fight? You think we want to have dinners like these where we have to give people an award for simply speaking the truth? God Almighty, I want to enjoy my life. I want to be popular. I want people to like me. I can't stand the fact that we have to go to war every day simply to exist. But God Almighty, if we will ever shirk from that responsibility, if it is foisted upon us to stand up for Israel, the greatest miracle that has been bestowed upon the Jewish people in 2,000 years, God forbid that we will not rise to the challenge if we are forced to. As John F. Kennedy so beautifully expressed in his famous inaugural, we will rise to every challenge, we will meet every foe, we will fight every battle to ensure that this great country, the Jewish state of Israel, is allowed to be prosperous and to simply exist and to live. If you don't love Israel, you have no heart. My friends, the great propaganda battles for Israel are so easily decided. It was John F. Kennedy who went in the summer of 1963 to Berlin, and he acknowledged that there's always two sides to an argument. The Soviets come along and say, don't give us these American arguments about how you're free and we're tyrannical and despotic. We see the race wars in America. We see the freedom riders who are being beaten with lead pipes. We see the economic inequality. We have none of that in the Soviet Union. And Kennedy acknowledged it's a difficult thing to respond to. There's always two arguments. And then he famously said, but we didn't have to build a wall to keep our people in. If Israel is not the righteous victor in this great battle of ideas, then why is it that when Oslo I and Oslo II came along and 1.5 million equal Arab citizens of Israel could have moved to live under Yasser Arafat, only the tiniest minority even contemplated such a stupid decision, and they did so only a few thousand to be reunited with family members, because why would you give up living under one of the most just and moral governments on the face of the earth to live under a kleptocracy, a dictatorship, a nation, a government that it aids and abets honor killings of women, slaughters gay men on false trumped-up charges of collaboration, shoots you for simply protesting politically, as we watched with those who did so against the Hamas government at the end of the war in Gaza last summer. Israel is the greatest blessing to all Muslims in the Middle East, not just to the Jews. So not only is a Muslim Zionist not an anachronism, it is the future. That every Arab nation should have the same freedoms and the same liberties and the same inspiration as Israel. My friends, I only have about 90 minutes left. Time is ebbing away very quickly. So I'm going to try to cut this down. I'm going to try to peel at least 10 minutes from that. And I want to say in conclusion and in summation, you know, I've witnessed when groups face irrational hatred and hostility, especially over prolonged periods of time, especially in every corner of the earth, they slowly begin to internalize that hatred until they believe it, that there's almost something wrong with them. When I went to Dakar, Senegal, to see the famous island just off the coast where more than 2-3 million African slaves left the shores of Africa to come in chains to this great country, which was not great for doing that, I was astonished to see that in sub-Saharan Africa, one of the poorest countries in the world, there were billboards everywhere for skin bleach. For skin bleach in Dakar, Senegal. To whiten your skin, as if there's something wrong with being black. Now here in America, we have the exact opposite story. A woman is being condemned. And for the longest time, many African Americans believe there must be something wrong. If the whole world hates you for what you are. And along came a great prophet, a modern prophet. And on the 3rd of April, 1968, less than 24 hours before he would be cut down by an assassin, he brought the Jewish Torah to life. And he spoke of the ability of a leader to take his people up the mountain, as Moses did before him. And he articulated a vision of a leader being able to see something larger than himself. He famously said, "Tonight I am fearing no man. Longevity has its place." I believe that every Jewish man and woman is indebted to Martin Luther King because he utilized our tradition to inspire his people to be free. What is it about us Jews that we don't see the glory of our own tradition? What? It is time that we gave the world modern Jewish prophets who speak boldly and who speak convincingly about the Jews as a light unto the nations, as Israel as the great radiant spark throughout the Middle East and throughout the world. Israel is the single most inspiring thing happening in the world today because it's a tiny country that is fighting to be what the United States was more than 2 centuries ago. A country that bestows dignity on all its citizens. Sarah, thank you for this great honor. To all of my fellow honorees, let us truly pursue EMET, the truth. As Martin Luther King said, and as every person propelled by an ideology has always tried to live, let us never be afraid. Al tira. The truth and fear are absolutely incompatible. Let us never be afraid to be proud Jews. Let us always stand up courageously and strongly for Israel, whether it's at the water cooler with our friends in our law offices, or whether it's the IDF, the brave soldier who stands up so that that tiny nation can be free, or whether it's those of us who Try to defend Israel in various forums. Let us stand up for this great nation so that the Jewish people can declare once and for all, proudly and strongly, not only Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people shall live, but Lo Yomos Ki Echia, I shall never die. I have done nothing to earn death. Like any other person on this earth, I will choose life and I will live. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the state of Israel.